Hey everybody, JimmE with the Triple C Collective, and
Collin here.
And we are ready to bring you another horror commentary track.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've got Off the Spinner Rack. Go check that out if you want to go see some comic recommendations. Today, we're going with some film, some flicks.
Yeah, we're doing two each here.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to talk about a yearly thing we do when we get together, a movie we see together yearly.
Around every spooky season.
Exactly.
And stuff.
I'm glad to do this. Let's get into it. What does the horror movie mean to you?
So, horror is one of my favorite genres. As a amateur filmmaker that I think I am, horror is where I've always started. Filling up condoms with fake blood to use them as intestines for zombie films and stuff. Shooting in black and white using the old Hitchcock trick of like chocolate syrup for blood because it just looks thicker and better on film. So it's we've always done this stuff. It's always been a lot of fun. You know, if you want to have a good like spray scene because somebody gets stabbed or you're ripping out something, what you do is like that old weed sprayers and stuff. Again, if you make enough fake blood, pump that bad boy up, and you do the right timing, and then it's out there. It's great stuff. Indie filmmaking, get it done. So a lot of people start out with horror as a cheap, dirty, not necessarily cheap, but a good, dirty way to get like a horror. I mean, think about Paranormal Activity. Mm-hmm. That movie was made for like $10,000. I
think it's a fun way to make a movie and kind of make a point with like not a lot of you don't need a lot for it. You know what I mean? You could do it in a forest. You could do it in a cabin. You could do it in one place.
Exactly.
You could make a good horror movie. Without having even the best of actors always, right? You could kind of work around that even.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same with me, right? I kind of grew up with horror, but in a different way. I used to be super afraid.
Yeah.
All the time, like of horror. Like if I went to Six Flags, say, and it was Fright Fest, I would like just cry when I heard the Michael Myers theme song, and but eventually, like that turned into just this fascination. I think, and it was just like fascination with what scared me, and eventually I turned to love it. And now it's just one of my favorite genres.
Yeah.
And if I was to make a movie, it would definitely be a horror movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's get into it. What's your first pick here?
All right. So my first pick, we're gonna turn the clocks back 33 years, and I'm gonna take us to 1991. And they're a bit spooky, a little bit kooky, and it's the Addams Family from 1991, which in 1992 was also Oscar nominated for Best Costume Design. Ruth Myers, well deserved, because I love this movie. I actually just rewatched this movie this morning with my daughter, and she can watch Jurassic Park. She can see the T-Rex eat the goat and is fine.
Freak me out.
Nothing. Yeah. No emotion. Like, I was worried there for a minute. But today, we're watching Addams Family, and she's like, oh no, this is scary. And I'm like, but what? what? So
it's presented as scary.
But this is my point, is that, first off, your kid will tell you what is scary to them and what isn't. But The Addams Family is a perfect thing, because in the end, this is a movie that is PG. This movie, Addams Family, is actually directed by one of the wackiest directors in the world, a dude who really holds a special place in my heart because he's done so many great things, like both Addams Family movies and Men in Black.
Yes, yeah.
Barry Sonnenfeld.
It was just crazy. He has such a...
He also did Wild Wild West, but...
Right. But he has such a that's a breadth, right?
Yeah,
that's some cool projects to be a part of.
Especially
for my child.
His 8-year run from 1991 to 99 is Addams Family. I think it's a Michael J. Fox movie. Then he does Addams Family Reunion.
Nice, yeah.
Then Addams Family Values.
Yeah,
Sorry, it's Values.
He didn't do Reunion yet.
Then he does, I think it's Men in Black, Wild Wild West, Men in Black 2, and then he goes off and does some TV, and then he comes back for like Men in Black 3 and stuff. But like Men in Black 2 is out in '99, so like outside of like Wild Wild West, dude's on a heater for like 9 years of like just pumping out great flicks. And Addams Family is one of those. It's got Raul Julia giving an absolute like iconic, like this dude should have been nominated for an Oscar for like the heat he's throwing in this role as Gomez Addams. You've got
everyone does.
Angelica Houston, perfect as Morticia. You've got the wonderful Christopher Lloyd, who's not Doc Brown in this movie, it's great. And like as
a kid, I never even put the two together.
Dude, I have such a weird relationship with Christopher Lloyd because I love Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and like
he's the worst. He's scary.
Yeah, he freaks you out in that. And like, to be fair, Uncle Fester.
Again, I didn't put that together.
So you know what? We've got Christopher Lloyd as Uncle Fester, and then we've got Christina Ricci as Wednesday Addams, and then we've got Jimmy Workman as Pugsley. At this point, it has been 25 years since Fester has been with the Addams Family. Him and Gomez had a fight, and he went and like hasn't been found. So at the beginning of the movie, they're like still like, hey, the seance is coming, because they assume he's dead. And if he's dead, they can have a seance, and maybe they can see him, and maybe he can just like haunt the house or something, you know, like hang out or whatever. I don't know if it's like a Halloween Town thing where it's like only on the seance or only on like Halloween you can cross over or whatever. But like, so they want to try and see him again. And they have this really like skimy kind of lawyer dude named Tully, played by Dan DeGea. And man, he is so great. Like, he's awesome as Tully, and then you've got his wife Margaret as Dana Ivey. And Tully basically gets in with the loan sharks. Well, one of the loan sharks is has Gordon, who is Uncle Fester, and Christopher Lloyd, and has been like raising him as her son. Yeah. And so like Fester and Tully and Fester Gordon and Tully and the mom all hatched this plan to rob the Addams Family of their fortune, and all just like make away with it. And so like this is where then the night of the seance, Tully being the lawyer, he is an honored guest, him and Margaret, so they show up for the seance. They do the seance, and of course Gordon and his mother show up knocking at the door and stuff. And it basically all ensues from there. Like, Fester starts unpacking, and that's so great because
the con is on.
Yeah, the con is basically on. And the doctor explains, like, the 25 years missing, found in a tuna net, and basically had no memory, and they had to do a bunch of tests and stuff. And the Wildlife and Game down in Florida released Fester into like her
custody.
Margaret is the only sane one. Is like, this is ridiculous. This is the stupidest story. There's no way anyone in this room is believing this story, right? And like, and literally Tully's like, shut up, Margaret. Yeah. Shut up.
Right. As if she's crazy.
But there's a really great scene that I'll basically just kind of jump through, like, just some highlights here. Fester unpacking. He takes out a crowbar, some dynamite, and cyanide. But it is all actually being unpacked by Angelica Houston's Morticia. And when she grabs the cyanide, she turns to him and it's like, oh, like we'd ever run out. And there's just so many great things that go throughout it. Like,
you'd think she would be suspicious, but no, she's like, no. Why wouldn't you have cyanide?
Right? And so there's also a charity that they're trying to get, like, something to be donated to, like, be raffled off or whatever. And like, Grandma Addams is like, oh no, we should keep this for ourselves. And Morticia's like, no, it's for the widows and children. And Tish turns to Margaret and is like, the world needs more of them. And it's just like, oh my god, this is so dark. like, I don't know, maybe it's just the fact that, like, I don't know, I was watching with my kid and I was like, oh god, maybe I'm scarring her now because she said it was scary or whatever.
That's all good stuff.
But it's just so funny. Then, like, that all happens around the like 30-ish or so minute mark. of the movie. And basically the rest, the next like 30 minutes is Gordon kind of meeting the family and kind of getting sunk in there because Gordon needs to find the vault. He needs to find the vault, get in there. And of course, the first thing day one Gomez says is like, we're going to the vault, baby. Mm-hmm. We're going to the vault because this is our boy time. This is where we used to hang out, play video games or whatever, torture each other. And he sees the gold and stuff there. But it's only Gomez who knows how to get there because Gordon tries to do it again without Gomez, and Tish sees him. Yeah. He gets sucked through like water tunnels and stuff.
Yeah,
it's great. Yeah. There's another scene like later on.
The house in itself is a character.
Yeah, absolutely. And so like Gomez and Gordon are trying to like become friends and stuff. The doctor is like, the doctor mom is like, hey Gordon, we got to get this money. Like we can't be like waiting here or whatever. But like slowly, more and more as the weirdness of the Addams Family goes on, as Gordon is there, like things start to click. And it's at this point here, Gordon sees Pugsley and Wednesday practicing for a school play. Mm-hmm. And they are doing some swashbuckling sword fighting. And it's great. Yeah. And it's really funny. And they're like, but Gordon sees them, and there's a fake stab to like Wednesday, and she like died. Christina Ricci, like fake.
That was like how I learned how to fake stab as a kid.
Right? Like there's just so many like beautiful things here. And he loses it. Christopher Lloyd like gets mad. He's like, no. Have you ever stabbed anybody before? Yeah. And like then he's like, you're doing it all wrong. Right. There would be
he can't help but get sucked into the family.
Right. He just can't help to get into this like kooky and spookiness of it all. And so he's like, here, let me show you something. And he shows them a book called Wounds, Scars, and Gouges. And then he teaches them about like explosions and stuff. And this is around now like the 46 like minute mark or whatever. So we're getting into about the last 30-ish minutes of the movie here. And like the doctor mom is like, you can't go to the play because everyone's out of the house. It's the perfect time for me, you, and Tully to try and rob, the vault and everything like that. And he's like, but the kids, I taught them how to make special effects. Mm. And let me tell you, boy howdy did he. So Fester eventually ditches the parent, ditches his doctor mom, and does go to the play. Shows up like pretty late, just barely before they get on there. But what he does is he turns Wednesday and Pugsley into a Sam Raimi Evil Dead movie for about a minute and a half here. And like there are slashes and like blood's just going everywhere. And Christina Ricci also, like, it's so good because it's like, Barry Sonnenfeld's like, all right, we're gonna be shooting all this like red blood, but I need you to open up to the audience here. And when I say open up to the audience, that's a very like stage theatrical thing. It's like, no, you need to open up so that the audience can hear you as you're doing this and stuff. And dude, the audience is just splattergasted with like all kinds of blood and stuff. Like Pugsley loses an arm. It's amazing, man. Yeah. It turns into a Sam Raimi Evil Dead movie for like a minute and a half here, and it's just like awesome. So then it all kind of starts to unfold because it's the going away party. Then after this, Fester is getting his head shaved by Dr. Mom. And she's like, I bore you, you're my like son. I knew you were my uncle and stuff. And so then Tully is downstairs at the party talking to the old flame of Fester's, Flora and Fauna, the conjoined insanity twins. And Tully finds out that Fester is the older brother. So now that Fester is back, he has the sole control. So Tully's like, now the real con is afoot. Mm-hmm. Because what he does is like he goes, gets a judge, and they basically get a restraining order against the Addams family. They're out looking for Wednesday at this point, and they're all off the property outside of the gate. So Tully is just able to close the gate and says that Fester put up a restraining order for you. And this is really where the movie gets like really weird in this last like 20 minutes, because they're like Gomez and Morticia and stuff. They're living in a motel. Morticia gets a job as a teacher. She tells the story of Hansel and Gretel to a bunch of like 3-year-old kids, and they all just start like bawling and stuff. Dude, this movie is just like awesome. And one of the best things about this like whole motel thing is they have a lemonade stand to try and make, some money, add some money to the house and stuff, do whatever little thing like Wednesday and Pugsley can do. So they do this, and there's an exchange with a Girl Scout, and the Girl Scout is like, I only drink all natural stuff, so I got to make sure these are real lemons, no blah, 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 blah. And then she's like, so how about this? You're assuring me this. How about I buy a cup of your 5 cents of lemonade, and you buy one of my boxes of Girl Scout cookies? How does that sound? And Wednesday, Christina Ricci is like, are the cookies made out of real Girl Scouts? And the girl just like rolls her eyes and walks away. And I was just like, oh my God, this movie just keeps getting better the more and more I watch it.
Yeah.
Tish goes. So after that, they cut to like Morticia then going to the house. She starts getting put on like the stretcher torture chamber thing. Thing followed her there and is like, then goes back and communicates via Morse code with Gomez and is like, hurry up and get him. And basically, Fester, once Gomez gets there, they start fighting. Gomez defeats like Tully, and Fester's like, all right, Gomez, we'll go and get we'll go to the vault, we'll get the money and like, blah, 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 whatever. We'll just do it. As Gomez is about to pick the right book, Fester's like, I know your tricks, Gomez. That's the wrong book. And he grabs a different book. Fester grabs a different book. It's the Hurricane book. And he opens it up, blows Dr. Mom and Tully out the window into caskets that are in graves pre-dug by Pugsley and Wednesday, and they just shut the casket, and it's like, oh, that's over. We get a cut to black 7 months later. We find out that Gordon really is Fester this entire time. He really did get caught in a tuna net 25 years ago, and when that Dr. Mom lady found him, he had amnesia, and she just manipulated him for the last 25 years. And it took her 25 years to realize who she really was, and she doesn't even really know it until Tully's like, hey, you kind of look like Fester. If we shave your head and stuff, like, you're Fester Adams, man. Like, we can make this work. And, but yeah, we find out that Fester gets struck by lightning and all of his memory comes back. He's like, oh yeah, I remember all this. That doctor lady was crazy and stuff. And I was just like, wow,
Gomez
man.
has his best friend back.
Yeah, Gomez has his best friend back. And
because that's kind of a funny story throughout the whole time is Gomez's like sadness that his buddy's like not the same person anymore. It's kind of
and, like,
endearing in itself.
The Dr. Mom with like therapy and the displacement thing and stuff.
But it's like Munchausen by proxy. She's got basically. She's
she's the worst. But I do love that in that 7 months later, it's now like Halloween time, and you do see Pugsley dressed up as Uncle Fester, which is great. Man, this movie is an absolute delight. I love it. I still love it now, 33 years later. It's a like, my daughter found it freaky, but like, she watched the whole thing. She just said she was scared at some parts.
Which is cool.
So
watch it during the day.
So again, if you're trying to figure out like some spooky things to get like kids in your life, nieces, nephews, whatever, into some stuff, Addams Family, perfect recommendation, I think, for it. I still love it. I had a blast watching this. It's been an absolute delight.
And you can watch Values because Thanksgiving's coming up.
Exactly.
Right after, so get in the spirit, and then you can keep it up.
What's your first recommendation here?
My number one recommendation is Willy's Wonderland with one of my favorite actors, Nicolas Cage. Yeah. It was released in 2021. It's kind of a campy horror film. It was written by Geo Parsons and directed by Kevin Lewis. Cage plays the quiet protagonist. Really, like, does not have a lot of dialogue in this. Known as the janitor, basically, or the lone drifter. And it wasn't exactly critically loved upon its release, but it has gained a bit of a cult following.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the janitor, the drifter, gets stuck in a small town after his car breaks down. He agrees to clean an abandoned children's entertainment center called Willy's Wonderland in order to get some money to pay the mechanic so he can get out of here, back on the road again. What seems like a super boring regular job quickly becomes this like nightmare scenario for him with the characters kind of being possessed and coming back to life. And you find out in this B story too that there's a group of teenagers, like college kids, that are like on a mission to burn down Willy's because of what the major thing that happened at Willy's was like this evil event, right? And they want to just burn the evil Willy's Wonderland down. So you get these animatronic characters that are fun because it's really with practical effects they use to really lean into this nostalgic and campy vibe that they give off. And you get Gus the gorilla, Tito the turtle, and of course Willy the weasel. But yeah, they really use the dark humor too to kind of stick this landing. Really fun blood and guts story, and then him it's a survival story for him, and then you got this other story where they're coming to take down. You get it that it's a $5 million project, right? Then the story doesn't waste any time, and considering it doesn't have a lot of money, a big budget, it pretty much the director knows how to use Nicolas Cage. He doesn't waste any time with his hour and 28-minute movie.
Love that runtime. Exactly.
And Cage's unique acting style is without any dialogue. He's just kind of able to use those facial expressions and everything else to just kind of exactly.
Nicolas Cage is a good actor.
Yeah,
he's an Oscar winner, multiple Oscar noms.
And again, directors really need to know how to use them.
Right,
and it's on them usually. And to Kevin Lewis's credit, he knows how to use Cage. But yeah, I don't want to get too into spoilers because I want you to watch it. But if you like say Five Nights at Freddy's, but wanted it a little more gory or like a little more hardcore, this is definitely great. It's definitely unique though. It's not like just the same old. Like it definitely takes the same concept and then just kind of runs with its own storyline. And I appreciated it because like I never knew what Five Nights at Freddy's was. Like I didn't play it.
Yeah, I never played it either.
So like that didn't like get in my head too much. But if that is in your head too much, I think you could look past that, and I think you'll have a fun time. And all the choices that are different from Five Nights at Freddy's are great, and it is a unique movie.
Yeah,
and it's not just a retold story. And anyways, I hope you.
I love Nick Cage in these movies. I haven't seen this.
Yeah.
But I love his, like
he's on a horror path.
Well, it's not even just like it's it's Willy's Wonderland, it's Mandy, it's Pig, it's like it's Long Legs. Like for the last maybe now at this point maybe the last 10 years he's been in this small thriller horror genre kind of like Color Out of Space and stuff. All of these. They're all varying. Most of these have been really good, that we've named. I've really liked
I was going to say, most of the horror ones have been pretty good.
Yeah, Mandy is still probably my favorite because that movie was just whoa.
I mean, the soundtrack's good. It's just different, too.
Yeah. Color Out of Space was really wacky, but also cool. But that's all. But that also lives in that really weird thing. And this sounds exactly like it.
Yeah.
Everything about
straightforward.
Everything about this sounds like a great time. Where can they find this right now? If it's streaming anywhere? Or...
I definitely watched it on Hulu.
Okay.
So yeah, it was on part of my Disney Plus subscription. I watched it part of there.
I know Addams Family. If you have streaming, is on Paramount Plus.
So let us know what you think of this movie, Willy's Wonderland, in the comments, and make sure to like and subscribe in the meantime. And Jimmy, what's your next pick?
So now we're going a little bit international here in my pick. This was a movie that you over the summer actually Found a trailer because it was like in your feed or whatever, and you slip it into my DMs, and you're like, "Yo, dog, check this out." And I'm like, "All right, what is this?" Irish horror flick. All right. It's called Oddity. It's it's definitely streaming on Shudder. You can find it there. It's available on VOD right now. I actually
AMC Plus. Yeah.
AMC Plus. I think it's that second movie actually over there, off the top of my.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's also physically available on Blu-ray. You get just the Blu-ray on it, no digital copy, obviously, because it's on AMC Plus or Shudder or whatever, or all of those. But either way, this is an Irish horror flick, and I picked it because once I saw the trailer, I was like, this just looks cool. It looks like something different. It actually looked like a horror film that I would not call like a normal run-of-the-mill. As I talked about at the top, I fancy myself as an amateur filmmaker, so when I do projects, I tend to do horror projects, and part of it is doing like the blood and the guts, or having people to like bounce ideas of how to make this happen and stuff. Usually I have a really great like makeup special effects artist that I typically work with. Shout out Mac, you're great, love you. And so like she's phenomenal, like amazing, always impressed with what she does. But with that, I'm used to like a lot more of the blood and the guts and stuff. This though is a little bit different because it's like a little bit more paranormal, a little bit more like ghostly possessions and stuff. And so like the basic plot overview: Ted and Danny buy a house. Ted works nights at a mental health facility. Danny is killed one night while Ted is working overnight. A year later, Danny's sister Darcy, twin sister who was also blind, comes to the comes to the spot where like her sister's death, in an attempt to kind of fill in some blanks that
so it's like a murder mystery.
Yeah.
Kind of too, yeah.
Which is cool because that's something that like I also talked about what I liked about Thanksgiving and stuff when me and my brother Eddie did that commentary track. Check that out from last year. But the cast is Danny and Darcy. You got Ted Timms. You got Yana, who is Ted's new girlfriend. You got Olin, who was the convicted murderer of Danny. And then you've got Ivan and Orderly. And you've got three settings: the mental health house, the mental health facility, the Ted Danny house, and then Darcy's basically her shop.
Yeah, okay.
And this movie was so good. It was again something I really wasn't expecting. It runs about an hour and 40 minutes. You start out at the mental health hospital. You see a killing basically there. You see a man drawing and stuff, and it's just like super unsettling. Actually, the movie opens with the man coming up to Danny when she's home alone. Like there's a guy who comes up to her, and it's like knocks on the door as she's like putting her stuff together, and it's like, hey, somebody just came into your house while you were over there by your car. I saw him walk in. You got to let me in and check out your house. And it's just like, we're like 11 minutes in, and like it ends with her being like, no, I'm not letting you in. And then it's bam, title sequence, Oddity. And then we go to mental health. We go to mental health hospital. We see some dude drawing outside, and then later that night somebody is killed like brutally. We go to Darcy's shop. Darcy and Ted are talking for the first time in a few months, and he's like, "Hey, you should come over." Mm-hmm. Like it's been a while. It's been a little bit. It's been like a year since like Danny's death. Like, you're her sister. Like I was married to her. Like like I kind of care about you. Basically, is like is what he's saying. They go to Ted. We cut back to Ted's house, and here we meet his new girlfriend Yana, who's like the worst. Like, there's just no other way to call it. But she's just one of the worst. And she's like, "Hey, we just got a package. It's from your dead wife's sister, Darcy. It's this big old box, and it's some big chest box thing." And then, like literally 10 minutes later, you see Darcy get dropped off in a cab, and she's like, "Well, we talked about like me visiting," and he was like, "Yeah, in like a in like 2 weeks. It's been a day. You know, he's like, it's been like 3 days since we talked. And basically from here on out is like where everything starts to happen. Because Darcy's very weird. When we were at her shop earlier, she's like, this bell, I would dare not touch this bell because a dead bellboy will come. And like, you know, tells us a story about that. And slowly as Yana and Darcy are at the house because Ted goes to work. And so he just leaves these two alone. And they have one of the single greatest exchanges in the world. And it is Darcy asking Yana, would you let a stranger into your house? And Yana's like, no. Do I look stupid? Right. Darcy, who is blind.
Right.
Keep in mind, who is blind? I have no idea what you look like. You sound stupid. Yana, excuse me? Darcy, do I look stupid? Yana, no. My sister and I were identical, so that must mean she didn't look stupid. Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
That's that quick Irish wit.
It's just so good. And then we get like a flashback of a little bit more of that opening scene of what eventually happens. And the guy who was knocking on the door does go away. But one thing that we see before is that Danny, if she's looking out her front door all the way out to the right on a time lapse with a flash, she has photos being taken. So she just had that strange interaction. She goes back and checks the camera. And what's on the camera? A dude in a porcelain mask who is inside her house. That guy outside of the house was not that dude who is now inside her house. That dude was right. And we see the bloody after effect. We see a bloody tent of where Danny used to be. And basically now, at this point, Darcy goes to bed, or Darcy falls asleep at the table because Yana was going up to bed. And now things start getting really weird. And this is where I'm going to leave it.
Ooh.
Because things start getting really weird. One thing I do got to say, Darcy at some point, I will say this. During this nap time, Darcy seems to actually wake up, take out a wooden man from the box that was delivered, sets him at the table.
Is it an oddity?
Yeah. it is.
Okay.
And from
She
here,
owns the oddity shop.
Exactly, the old antique oddity like curse shop and stuff. And so like here, this is where this is like you're getting almost into the final like act of the movie here, and this is where things like really start to come to life, and you get a really interesting twist.
Nice.
In it that I was like, even when I rewatched it, like now when I like got it, physically here, when I re-got it, I was like, man, that's still like, it's wild.
Yeah.
I love it. So yeah, went a little international here. I'm always down to watch different kinds of horror flicks and stuff. And this was one that, again, it is not my typical of like slasher kind of like, or creature kind of like movies that I like zombies or vampires or werewolves or stuff like that. But like, man, it was so weird and odd that like I just loved it. Like it was so cool. I can't say enough about it. Go check it out. You can again get it on Shudder, AMC Plus. You can get it on PVOD, paid video on demand. You can buy it physically. Whatever it is, I highly suggest go checking it out. Did you end up getting to check this out?
Not yet. No,
okay.
No, I can't wait. It looks
Cool.
It's right up my alley.
Cool.
Yeah, just the mystery part of it alone seems fun. But yeah,
So what's your next one? What's your next recommendation here?
I'm
buddy?
also hitting the international waters here. I'm not in Ireland though. I'm going to be in Spain for
Nice. Just hopping over that Atlantic.
for The Devil's Backbone. And compared to Willy's Wonderland, this is definitely the opposite side of the horror coin here. The Devil's Backbone's a dramatic period piece by the master of modern Gothic horror, in my opinion, Guillermo del Toro. It was released in 2001. The Spanish film El Espinazo del Diablo, or The Devil's Backbone, blends the horrors of war with the supernatural, which is very similar to Pan's Labyrinth. He has which is its sister film, set in 1939 against the backdrop of war-torn Spain during the Spanish Civil War.
And it's like right at the start of the Spanish Civil War.
It's just a lot of you're seeing this movie's about the aftermath of what happens during war to children, and it's very interesting. This haunting tale really does follow one young boy, and his name's Carlos, who's left at an orphanage by his guardian, who disappears, right? Like from all this, only to find that his new home is haunted. This orphanage is definitely haunted by the past. Carlos encounters the restless spirit of this young boy named Santi. He disappeared under mysterious circumstances, and as the film unfolds, Carlos kind of starts figuring out what happened and the truth behind Santi's fate. And as he begins to find what happened to Santi, we as the audience are kind of forced to reflect on like the nature of the monsters that adults create during times driven by fear and desperation, during times of war. Basically, like the horrors that happen aren't just on the battlefield, right? They're happening everywhere, and people are being left behind, and the adults sometimes don't act like you need them to, right? Especially when you're in an orphanage.
Jacinto,
yeah.
That the worst.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've actually seen this movie.
It's a great.
I've seen this one too.
Right. So it's great. It's just the juxtaposition of the children at the orphanage and the ongoing war. It's haunting as the children are forced to confront death and destruction at such a young age. You know, leading to just innocence lost, and ultimately, it is more than just another ghost story. Del Toro uses this tale to explore the always poignant themes of like love and loss, especially during times of war. And it's just, to me, it's a great movie to just check out during this time. It is eerie. The way he does ghosts is definitely not just like boring. It revolves around the idea that ghosts are kind of just the memories of the haunting of our past mistakes and things that have gone wrong can show up over and over again in new ways. And it's kind of about trauma, right? And about what can come out from people the kids didn't want this war, right? So it's kind of the idea of like the new direction. These kids were the idea of like the new direction Spain can go into, and they represented like the bright eyes that were kind of diminished because of this stuff. So
I just know from the special features is like there's the color scheme is very very specific for what you see within the children and like the
color scheme between this movie and Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah.
There's very much you'll notice it, and if you don't, that means it's doing its job. It's doing the psychological effect very well. But yeah, the color scheme is very there's blues, and then there's reds, and it's a different effect depending on what the scene is trying to impart. And sometimes it's just clear, and that kind of shows you something too. But yeah, I think the color schemes in all Guillermo del Toro movies are very important to check out.
The oranges and stuff is like amber.
Yep.
Like moments or people being stuck in time and stuff. And
blues and reds are basically so the orange and it's a very very distinct choices he makes.
It's so
cool.
good.
You know, cool and warms are palettes that go against each other.
For the Devil's Backbone, highly suggest getting the Criterion Collection Blu-ray of it. But
if you want to watch it today, it's on, I think, Prime.
Okay.
You can check it out. But if not, video on demand. Get the Criterion Collection version because again,
so many great special features on it. And it's one thing I will say, like something that you don't think about in this movie for it, but like something that like was very important kind of to like Guillermo del Toro was the unexploded bomb in the middle of the like ground there. Like
the potential, the tension's always there because of that, and it's
And but that wasn't originally Guillermo del Toro's idea.
Nice.
He a friend of his gave him like a stack of like 10 scripts that he wrote, and out of like all of them, he liked this idea of kids at an orphanage with an unexploded bomb in the center there, and he was like, well, I've already got my kids here, how would I buy this script off you guys, because it was written by somebody else, like his friend, and then his friend's like writing partner or whatever. He buys the script from them, and then all 3 of them are the credited screenwriters on Devil's Backbone. And he like, just takes this idea. He's like, I really like this little
it's attention. It's like a clock playing in the background of a movie the whole time. It's always there. It's something that's gonna.
But it also takes a place as like another like almost vehicle for the ghost.
Yeah.
Like with the ribbon specifically.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a poetic movie in its essence. It's deep. It's haunting, and it'll stick with you.
It's so good. I love Guillermo del Toro. Devil's Backbone is so good. And like he talks about it specifically in the Devil's Backbone Criterion Collection special features. There's a special feature where Guillermo del Toro dives into why Devil's Backbone and Pan's Labyrinth are one side of the same coin. 2 sides of the same coin. Yeah,
they call them sister films. Before like Marvel Cinematic Universe made like that a normal thing. But yeah, let's talk about the movie we see together every year.
Every day.
I
could watch this movie every day, and it's Night of the Living Dead. So, Night of the Living Dead for, I don't know, maybe at least the last 7 years, probably a little bit longer than that, we've been going out to this movie theater out in Woodridge. It is called Hollywood Boulevard.
Blues Brothers car on top of it.
Yeah, it's just like a really great, like little small boutique kind of theater. They do a similar thing that, you probably heard of from Alamo Drafthouse, most famously. They serve you food and stuff, like real food, burgers, chicken nuggies and stuff. Like, it's all kinds of great stuff.
Yep. Not a root beer float.
Right? You can get coffee, you can get booze, whatever, if you're of age. And but like it's a great time. We always enjoy it. It's usually at the usual suspects you see here. So me, Collin, you hear of Crowley, but you would be seeing him there, and Ed. And sometimes maybe 1 or 2 other people might make
pop
it up there, pop in or out or whatever. Well, we go see it, and Night of the Living Dead is what I mean. It's an all-time classic. It's not just a classic; it is truly an all-time classic because
it set a standard.
That movie literally, till now, basically, like set an entire genre aflame.
Yes, it made the zombie craze what it is today.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, and it was so crazy for its time. Like, like that
lead black actor. It took chances that a lot of movies back then weren't even trying. The time it came out and in black and white, and we talked about it. It was you could have had color, right?
Yeah, you could have had color, but you do it in black and white.
Yeah,
and why do you do that?
It's like we talked about Psycho too being another one that was filmed in black and white. He did other movies that weren't in black and white.
That were even
before that.
Before Alfred Hitchcock, does Psycho specifically black and white.
Yeah.
Kevin Smith does Clerks specifically black and white.
But this movie's definitely very specifically, and a lot of them are. A lot of the choices are maybe they can get cameras on the cheap, right? The black and white camera would have been cheaper at that time. Maybe you can, but also.
Developing
the blood
the film,
in black and white always does look more interesting because you can use different things and it doesn't always have to look red on camera, and it could look more real, when they're eating the bones and stuff.
You're able to hide a lot without having a crazy big budget, because then once you had a crazy big budget, it's like, well, we'll just do it on color then, at that point. But you don't, because that's the other beauty of Night of the Living Dead, is that it's an independent film through and through. It's just a bunch of friends with an idea and a camera and a hope and a dream.
George A. Romero and his friends just chilling out.
Like it is
and
literally.
You were telling me about how he cast the best actor out of his friend group as the main character. So
yeah, he talks about it because like when writing the script, like there's no like this person is white or whatever. They might be like big, bulking, 6'5" or whatever, short haircut or whatever. But like as they're writing the script and stuff, like they're not giving like descriptions like that. So when they were trying to get people to audition, it was whoever gave the best performance, the best read as that character was going to get that role. And, that's where we get with like Dwayne Jones and stuff.
My favorite part of this movie is when Ben slaps the shit out of Barbara. Because Barbara really she's stuck in a psychosis in this moment, right? Like the beginning of the movie starts with Barbara and her brother going to visit a family.
Johnny.
Yeah, her brother Johnny to visit their father at the cemetery.
Yeah.
And while they're there, Johnny starts messing with her and being like, "Remember when you were so scared as a kid?" And
they're coming to get you, Barbara.
So
they're coming for you.
So there's one right there. And he eventually kind of run into somebody he's using as a fake zombie, and it is a zombie.
Yeah.
He's using it as a monster to scare her, and it turns out to be a zombie. Gets him. She fumbles and just it's
wrecks
the worst.
the car and everything.
Just like everything she just does the wrong way. It's one of those like very like you're frustrated with the main character vibes. So she finally gets to a house
at least. Yeah.
And it just goes on from there, and the whole movie pretty much takes place in this house. Yeah. Outside of that cemetery scene, and like the grounds on the house. Yeah. Around the house, and some there's some great like scenes of people in like newsrooms and stuff that I appreciate, and some of the funniest scenes are when they're interviewing people.
Yeah. It's so good.
It's not technically a great film, right? There's definitely a lot of editing errors. There's a lot of like it's a super low budget. It's made for $114,000. Like that's really low, considering what it ended up creating. The whole genre of horror movies.
Well, the craziest thing about Night of the Living Dead is that it is out and open in public domain.
Yeah.
Is that like, and I don't know if it was in maybe the Criterion collection that I have of Night of the Living Dead, because again, physical media matters. Go buy that, because I don't know if you can actually stream the original Night of the Living Dead anywhere.
Peacock's got it.
Peacock? Okay, cool. Peacock's got it, but they definitely have. Criterion has it on Blu-ray and 4K. I think I currently only have the Blu-ray. I haven't upgraded to the 4K yet, but it's also available on any other kind of just regular regular blue box kind of Blu-ray. And Night of the Living Dead, amazing.
Yeah, I love it.
I love going to Hollywood Boulevard and doing that. We always get like if
you're in Illinois, if you're in like near the Chicagoland area, definitely go check it out.
Absolutely.
Hollywood Boulevard.
The only other theater that I know that kind of does like really fun stuff like that too as well is Music Box, like in the city in downtown Chicago up on the like north side there. But that's a lot of fun. But Night of the Living Dead forever has been like one of my favorites. And it's actually so funny because I remember when I first watched this in high school and I was like, this is not scary.
Right.
I was like,
me and you. We were Dawn of the Dead.
Right. Well, it's like because like in 04,
because I always did think that the slow zombies in Night of the Living Dead when I was younger. Like, if I can beat them up, they're not that scary. It is though when you realize that like yes, a horde of these things coming over and over again would be crazy. And by the end of the movie, you do see they are generally easy to kill. Like they are pretty, but if you don't have the right tools and equipment or whatever infrastructure around you. But to me, that's my favorite part of the movie is the societal things it touches on. Yeah, it's very much a like satirical piece in my opinion, right? Yeah. I don't want to give away the ending, but it is an old movie, but it's interesting what ends up happening.
I mean, it's insane.
Very to say the least, it's interesting.
It's one of the like it's one of the most whoa endings. Like, whoa. And yeah, you're right. But this movie was also released in 1968, so go check it out.
Yeah.
It has been remade at least 2 times. I know Tom Savini made a colored version of it in the early 90s.
Right.
There is
Tony Todd.
Night of the Animated Living Dead, which is an animated version of Night of the Living Dead. And I believe, actually, is it Romero's daughter? And
I'd like to see more.
I think it's Romero's daughter and maybe his ex-wife or somebody are doing doing a new Night of the Living Dead, like
awesome.
live action, I believe. And it's been a little bit since I've heard anything about that, because I feel like it was just kind of like, hey, we're looking into this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it was even like this is a pre-production, like we're getting the cameras rolling soon. I think it was.
I
like,
understand.
I think it's like we're developing it. Which is great. Like I don't want to sound disparaging about it at all. Like give me more. It'll be weird though seeing a Night of the Living Dead movie or whatever, I guess, without Romero.
I love it.
But they've also like Snyder remade Dawn of the Dead, and then they started doing direct to DVD. Like there's a Day of the Dead remake that's like a sequel to that Dawn of the Dead, because it has Ving Rhames in it and like continues on that cast and stuff. Then I think they even made like a Day of the Dead TV show. Possibly. Maybe I made that up. Maybe they were supposed to. Either way, I love Romero's Living Dead, like zombie flicks.
Kind of keep this tradition alive for sure.
I am a slow zombie guy. I'm
an appreciator now.
I was so annoyed when 28 Days Later and Zack Snyder's remake came out, and like we had the running zombies. It always just annoyed me. I loved Shaun of the Dead so much because they like make fun of that too, because they're the Romero purists, and like that. Like I was just like, these British guys, get me.
Yeah, exactly. And I was telling them, I'm like, yeah, not all of them would run, right?
Yeah.
Most of them wouldn't because of the ailments that they have. But like, if a football player just got bit,
and
you don't think that man's gonna have physical ability now?
And I can't argue it.
That's why I love those movies, because they used big boys like to show you that. Like, oh,
but like that's what I think we got with Zombieland. I think Zombieland did a little bit of a mix, because they showed you the big boy zombies like kind of running and stuff, and like they showed other like zombies kind of just like crawling underneath. Like
Zombieland had all the zombies.
So like I feel like they kind of took the right notes of it. And when they made that blend, but now
I love all of them. Now I love running, slow, whatever you pick as the narrative for your movie. I'm in, as long as the movie's good.
right. Like 28 Days Later is still really, really good.
And they're making a new one.
Yeah, but I'm so excited that Danny Boyle and Alex Garland.
Yeah, so sick. Well, maybe we'll talk about that someday.
Absolutely, we will, because you know what? Those are actually extremely hard to find on physical media.
Nice,
but I got them.
Aha.
I've got them. I got the 2-pack. I've got the hard Blu-ray 2-pack actually to find. Apparently, dude, the thing goes for like $45 on like eBay.
Hey,
I ain't getting rid of that. I love it. No way. No. Sloan, when I die, my daughter can get rid of that stuff if she so chooses. But Night of the Living Dead, Hollywood Boulevard. They do it every holiday, every like Halloween season. They've already played it this Halloween season. They end their horror stuff with playing Halloween on October 31st. So I highly suggest to go check them out. Do you have anything else you want to talk about for Night of the Living Dead, or any of our other picks that we've suggested before we sign off?
That's it. Just let us know in the comments what you think about these movies, or if you have any other recommendations. And otherwise, just like and subscribe, and we'll check you later.
I am Jimmy with the Triple C Collective.
And I'm Collin.
Hope you all stay safe. As he said, like and subscribe to our video and to our channel. And stay spooky, friends.
Ooh.